In Argentina, the results of the primary elections were published, which gave the advantage to the coalition of opposition Together for Change. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced a plan to introduce COVID-19 vaccine passports amid widespread skepticism of the jab, as curfew restrictions are said to be eased this week. Torrential monsoon rains and mudslides hit areas in northwestern Pakistan, destroying homes and killing at least 17 people. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your host, Gladys Quesada, and now we begin with the news. In Argentina, the results of the primary elections were published, which gave the advantage to the coalition of opposition Together for Change. The opposition coalition leads the results of the primaries in 14 provinces, as well as in the capital city of Buenos Aires, while the coalition of the government of the Front of All succeeded in 6 provinces of the interior of the country. Meanwhile, in the southern provinces of Neuquén, Rio Negro, and San Luis, the results of the primaries are led by regionalist parties and movements. In statements to the press after voting, the president of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, highlighted the importance of these elections for the strengthening of democracy, while thanking the citizens for their participation in the elections.
I have fulfilled my duty to vote. It is a beautiful day, because every time Argentina votes, we make democracy a little bit stronger. And for me, that is very important. So the only thing I hope is that we have a day of tranquility, where we can all vote, where we all go to vote, and then wait for the results at night. I do not have much more to say. There is not much to add. Thank you for the time to be here. And well, let's move forward. Argentina moves forward tomorrow.
In Brazil, social organizations held protests this Sunday to express their rejection of President Jair Bolsonaro's government. The organizers of these events said that this call seeks to bring together opposition parties and unions to build a broad opposition front and to push for impeachment proceedings against Bolsonaro. The protests will also be a response to the acts with the anti-democratic agendas and speeches against the Federal Supreme Court of the Brazilian president, which took place on Independence Day, September 7th, throughout the country.
As he said in the past, I am not a grave digger. He is the biggest grave digger of all time. He buried so many people due to his attitudes, active and passive ones.
Enough with the orders of Bolsonaro, this psycho. We need to live. The Brazilian people cry out for the world's help because the way we are, it looks like we are defeated, that we don't have strength. Now we want vaccines in our arms and food on our plate. Enough of Bolsonaro.
And now we continue with other reports. A massive demonstration called by Colombians living in Spain rallied on Sunday in Madrid against the upcoming visit of the President of Colombia, Iván Duque, to the country. The protesters have rallied outside the book fair that is held in the Retiro Park of Madrid. The demonstrators reject the visit of Iván Duque to Spain, scheduled for this Tuesday, and also denounce the murders and the political repression against the Colombian people. The demonstration was organized by the Madrid Colombian resistance collectives that also reject the violation of the human rights of the people during the government of President Iván Duque. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced a plan to introduce COVID-19 vaccine passports amid widespread skepticism of the jab, as curfew restrictions are set to be eased this week.
Decided that the country, after considering all these, it has decided that the country should be moved from adjusted level 3 and be placed on adjusted level 2 with effect from tomorrow, which is Monday, the 13th of September 2021. What does this mean? This means that the hours of curfew will now start at 11 p.m. and end at 4 a.m. There is still a need for curfew. We will also be providing further information on an approach for vaccine passports, which can be used as evidence of vaccination for various purposes and events. So that as people go around, they are able to demonstrate that yes, they've been vaccinated, and the Department of Health is looking at a variety of mechanisms like they have in other countries to either do it electronically through cell phone or other form of demonstration.
And we'll remain on topic. Africa crossed the brink of 8 million cases of COVID-19 after a third wave of the pandemic hit the continent. According to reports from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, more than 200,000 people have died from COVID-19 and about 7 million have recovered. Africa has only fully vaccinated 3.18% of its population of about 1.3 billion people. Health authorities rule out achieving the target of vaccinating 10% of the population by the end of September. In Cuba, a shipment of humanitarian aid donated by several Caribbean countries has arrived to assist in the fight against COVID-19. Through the humanitarian air bridge of the Alba Bank and the Venezuelan airline Conviasa, the states of St. Vincent and the Grenadines masks and safety goggles. The Minister of Justice of Cuba, Oscar Silvera Martinez, thanked the donation, describing it as an act of help, friendship and love in a complicated moment that is being experienced due to the U.S. blockade against the Cuban people. In Peru, the vaccination anti-COVID-19 campaign continues. People are now getting their vaccines at food markets among fresh fruit and vegetable stalls in Peru's capital, Lima. The Sinopharm and Pfizer jabs are administered at the market as part of an effort to bring the COVID-19 vaccination campaign to public spaces. And real estate developers in Ghana are feeling the pinch of a recent hike in the cost of building materials, which has made building houses more expensive in the African country. According to government data, the real estate industry contributed to Ghana's economic growth last year when coronavirus restrictions were eased. Real estate developers have said that they have to push up prices due to the rising cost of building materials.
A lot of projects are being initiated today. We are not seeing, the project, especially when it comes to housing. If you find out how many contracts were signed in the past administration in terms of contract to execute certain housing projects, the numbers are so huge. If you put them, even 100 of it, so sometimes I'm not too sure where they are picking the data from. A lot of projects are being...
In Vienna, about 2,000 people gathered against COVID-19 health restrictions and to demand the resignation of Conservative Chancellor Sebastian Kurz. Austria was among the first European countries to introduce a health pass system. Earlier this week, Austrian authorities announced that starting from September 15th, the government will tighten a range of COVID-19 measures. 1 week after reaching the intensive care load level of 15%, nightlife and activities without prescribed seating with more than 500 participants can only be visited by those who have been vaccinated or have recovered from the infection.
I completely excluded from everyday life. I don't get tested, and I won't. I can't go for a coffee. I can't do a sport. I can't do anything. I can only work, eat, and shop. That's all.
Anyone who wants to be vaccinated should do so, but it should stay voluntary and children should be left alone. Children should not be vaccinated. It's unthinkable because, in my opinion, it's a poison.
In France, clashes broke out with the police at a protest against the COVID-19 health pass. The Interior Ministry said 121,000 had demonstrated in France, 19,000 people of them in the capital Paris, where police arrested 85 people after clashes broke out. This was the 9th consecutive weekend of protests, although the number of protesters has decreased from early August to when 237,000 protesters turned out. The health pass, or a recent negative COVID-19 test, is required to enter cafes, restaurants, and many other public places. Still in France, the mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, announced this Sunday her candidacy for the 2022 presidential election, representing the Socialist Party. Hidalgo was the first woman to be elected mayor of Paris, and she now hopes to become France's first female president.
Today I am ready. That is why, with the strength of the warmth that surrounds me here, with humility and fully conscious of the importance of this moment, and to turn our hopes into reality, I have decided to run for President of the French Republic.
Several thousand demonstrators have marched in Berlin to protest rising rents in the German capital. Protesters staged a large rally 2 weeks before a referendum to expropriate the city's large real estate companies. On September 26, Berliners will be called to vote in general elections and a revolutionary referendum that aims to expropriate residential apartments owned by large real estate companies, a nationalization in favor of social housing and to address the housing shortages.
I find it a problematic development that people with a normal income cannot find affordable housing here. Housing, like other things, education, health, is in fact a fundamental right.
This is important to me because I can't pay more as a tenant. There are always rent increases, but my income doesn't increase.
And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. Torrential monsoon rains and mudslides hit areas in northwestern Pakistan, destroying homes and killing at least 17 people. 11 bodies have been recovered from the debris of mud and brick houses in the Torrential district, and rescuers continue searching for the remaining victims, which included women and children. Authorities in the city of Abbottabad said mudslides in the suburbs also killed a couple of their child. The country's disaster management authorities also reported they were dispatching relief aid to the affected area, but mudslides were delaying delivery.
मलबे से 11 अफराद की लाशें निकाल ली गई हैं जबकि 3 अफराद की तलाश जारी है। वज़ीर आला खैबर पख्तूनख्वा में
And China has agreed on a large economic aid package for Cambodia. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen said Sunday that China will provide the Southeast Asian nation with grant aid of $272 million, announcing the assistance during a visit by Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Both high-level officials will talk on combating COVID-19, trade and investment, education, security, as well as regional and international issues. In Iran, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed having reached an agreement with the Persian nation after holding a meeting in Tehran. The agreement reached allows the inspectors of the agency to intervene in order to carry out maintenance work and replace the memory cards of the cameras installed in the Iranian nuclear infrastructures in order to verify that the security systems are working, while Iran stated that it will only provide access if the negotiations are successful. Iran authorities say they will return to its commitments under the nuclear pact as long as the unilateral measures of the United States against Iran are lifted.
Issues that are outstanding require to be solved. But as I also said, there is a new government in Iran, and I need to sit down with them and to discuss in a clear way what is their take on these issues. I could have some preliminary discussion, but of course the government has higher levels, and I got a very cordial invitation to return very soon to Iran to have this conversation on how to get to a solution. I had certain agreements with the previous administration. I need to recommit. I need them to recommit to them or to endorse them or to change them, but in a way that leads us to a solution, which is, of course, part of my desire. No one could expect me in 10 hours to go solve these issues and come back with that. It would be unrealistic. What we need to do is to set the platform which is needed to do this. This is diplomatic work. This may take time. It's not heroic, but is much better than any alternative.
And Pakistan International Airlines will resume flights from Islamabad to Kabul next week, becoming the first foreign commercial service since the Taliban seized power last month. Kabul airport was severely damaged during the chaotic evacuation of over 120,000 people that ended with the withdrawal of the U.S. forces on August 30th. The Taliban have been scrambling to get it operating again with Qatari technical assistance, as well as an Afghan airline resumed domestic flights last week. The governments of Vietnam and China met to discuss various issues of interest of the bilateral relationship between the two countries. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Phan Binh Minh met in the Vietnamese capital of Hanoi. The officials said they will continue to support each other to strengthen bilateral coordination and cooperation on strategic issues in the region. For his part, the Chinese Foreign Minister emphasized that the two nations should strive to achieve progress in the trade field before the end of the current year. After his short visit to Budapest, Pope Francis arrived in Bratislava, Slovakia, on Sunday as part of his first big international tour. Francis has wrapped up the first day of his trip to the heart of Europe with a meeting gathering representatives of the 11 non-Catholic churches of Slovakia. Pope Francis is said to visit the Ludik 9 settlement in Košice to meet Slovakia's Jewish community and hear the testimony of a Holocaust survivor before ending this trip to Slovakia with a Mass on Wednesday in Stastin.
It will be a sign more eloquent than a multitude of words, and will help civil society to understand, especially in these troubled times, that only by being on the side of the weakest can we all survive the present pandemic.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.